So it's a beautiful afternoon today in Gurgaon. I stay in Gurgaon, and I know I've been told people are joining from all parts of the country, and it's a wonderful time to be in. What a statement to start off! It's a wonderful time to be in. You know, most of my friends or most of my colleagues have been worried about the times we're in today. There's been a lot which is going on in terms of uncertainties. People not been clear about what will happen in their lives. So there's a lot of uncertainty which is going on in the world today. But I still say this is the best time to be in because when you have those uncertainties, you have some new ideas which come up. You have time to reinvent. You have time to think afresh. You have time to be more productive in your lives in a different way. And that's what my endeavor is today. So Peter's already introduced me. I graduated from an engineering college 23 years back and worked a couple of years, then went to IIM Indore for my regular 2-year PGDM course, which was in 2001. So net, I worked close to 20 years in the corporate world. I'm sure most of you joining this program today do work in the corporate world. And I called it a day in 2018. It's going to be 2 years. I will be just completing 2 years next week as an entrepreneur. It's been a wonderful journey. When I say wonderful journey, no journey really is an uphill climb. When I say a wonderful journey, it's been a journey full of challenges, full of experiences. And I'm here to share you some of those experiences. And I work on the aspects of productivity. Now, when we talk about productivity in the normal context, when I say normal context, most of us, when we think about productivity, we're looking at those productivity hacks, right? You understand those hacks? How can I get more out of my time? How can I really accomplish something more in my time? I understand all those things are very important because you need to be more, but that's more akin to efficiency. There's a very slight demarcation between being efficient and being more productive. I mean, many times we use these words interchangeably as well. So I am going to be talking in a much larger context today. And when we speak about productivity, what do I really mean? How can you really be more productive? And the topic, I have picked up a very interesting topic for all of you, which says the vital P of productivity. And when I say the vital P, let's look at it from a more broader perspective. And let's look at life not just from a professional work environment, but really what can be done to make life a more holistic experience. Right, so I will be with you for about 35 minutes, next 35 minutes. And we will pause in between. But if you have any questions, as I speak, if you have any questions, any comments, please do post your comments in the comment box. The chat window is open for me. I really will be able to see any comments that keep flowing in. If I need to pause and answer somebody, I will do that. Otherwise, we have a short break in between and I'll answer some of your queries or comments. So let's begin. So you can see a cute kid in this photograph, a very cute kid. This is the way we all start our life. And this is the way life ends. And from our birth to possibly the last day, I call it a journey of 25,000 days. Why 25,000 days? So 25,000 days signifies about 70 years of a life, right? And the average expectancy of any person in India is about 70 years. Now, obviously, does not mean that everybody's going to live till 70. Most of you may hit about 80, 90, 100 years. Some of you may be dead due at the age of 60 itself. But normally we talk about life expectancy of about 70 years. So come to think of it, most of us on this call, maybe in 20s, 30s, we kind of lived through 30, 40% of our life already. What really have we accomplished in this life is not very important. I'll repeat once again. We through with 30, 40% of our lives possibly. What have we accomplished in our life till date is not very important. What's more important is what you're planning to do in the time which is left with you. So let's say, what are you planning to do for the next 30, 40, 50 years? This is what is more important to you. And when we talk about things like productivity, what can be done to make the balanced life a more holistic experience is what should be more important to you as an individual. Right? So let's begin this journey of 25,000 days. Now, I have kept it as, I have kept the big topic under wraps. So this morning also when Peterson spoke to me, I actually told him as to what the topic is going to be, but we've still kept it under wraps. The vital P. What really is that vital P? Is it like a vitamin B? What is it? So through this picture which is behind me, can some of you really guess what I'm going to talk about today? What really is this vital P that I'm going to talk about today? Any guesses? Let's have some energy. Let me see if people are really there online. I see about 50, 60 people who've logged in. So how many people are really listening to this presentation? Productivity, no, that's not the vital P. So the topic is the vital P of productivity. What really is that P in productivity? Any guesses through this photograph? Any IPL fans? What is this? This is an IPL photograph. What is that P in productivity? No, it's not performance, person, good show, precision. No, I still don't have that word. People. Ultimately, I believe Peterson will have to divulge the answer if we don't get the answer in the next 30 seconds. No, it's not par, it's not price. Okay, I'll give you another example. I now just see the clipping behind me. Yes, I have an answer. Yes, Dr. Nandana Dheer has the answer. What really is P in productivity? Dr. Nandana gave the answer. Dr. Nandan, sorry, gave the answer. It's that passion. I told you we're not going to talk about those small little hacks to improve your daily productivity. That's left for another workshop. Today, I'm going to talk about a big aspect. What is it that drives human productivity? And passion plays a very big role in whether or not you will really get more out of your daily routine. So let's begin this journey of the vital P. And I definitely have something more to cover in this P. We will come down to a slightly more structured aspect as well. But let me start off with passion. What really are we talking about today? So, what really is passion? If I were to describe passion in two words, I would simply say it is intense enthusiasm. Intense enthusiasm. That's what passion is. Now, when I talk about a thing like passion, some faces, I can really recall some faces. Some of you remember who this gentleman is? I am sure all of you would remember. If not by his face, you would remember by the number of gold medals he has along his arm. So some of you know who this person is. His name is Michael Phelps. And when I think about a subject like passion, or when I think about a subject like productivity, when we talk about productivity, we think about successful people. Yeah, successful people are really productive. What is it that differentiates these people from a normal person like us, normal person like you and me? So, I can recall an incident. Michael Phelps, for those of you who don't know, made history at the Beijing 2008 Olympic Games. He became the first Olympic athlete to win 8 gold medals in the same Olympics. Now, this dates back to August of 2008, and he had only won 6 gold medals. He was getting ready for his 7th race. And his biggest competitor in that race was a gentleman called Milorad of Serbia. Milorad was in lane number 4, Phelps was in lane number 5. And it was the 100 meters butterfly. Butterfly, yeah. So you have 4 kinds of races in swimming. He was competing in the 100 meters butterfly for his 7th gold medal. And the hot favorite in that race, in fact, was Milorad of Serbia. So the Olympic size pool is about 50 meters. And the race started. And by 25 meters, Milorad had a clear lead by about a meter. As they hit the 50-meter mark, you need to turn at the end of 50 meters. Milorad was still ahead by about a meter. And Phelps was in position number 4 as they turned around after 50 meters. And then something miraculous happened. And at the end of the race, Phelps had won the gold medal, beating Milorad by 0.01 seconds. Now, a Serbian team lodged a protest. They felt that Milorad had won the race. They went through all the closed circuit cameras, and ultimately Phelps was declared the winner. Now, I want to take you back about 7-8 months. And this is an incident which happened in October of 2007. Phelps, as he was coming back from his training and he was moving towards his car, he slipped. And suddenly he had a small fracture on one of his wrists. The doctor was able to diagnose the fracture and he was advised complete rest for a couple of months. Yes. Now, had he done that, his Olympic dreams would have been over in 2007. So he went back to his coach. The coach said, we will find a way out. The doctors advise you to not use your wrist. He's not asked you not to swim. So Phelps also, he was a very passionate person. I mean, he felt he was born to swim. And that's the passion. He felt he was born to swim. So he was back to the pool in about 10 to 15 days. 10, 15 days. But he was still advised not to use his wrist. He picked up a board. You know, you have that board. And he started swimming just by hitting that board and using his legs to swim, not using his arms. And he did that for laps and laps every day till the time his wrist recovered. And you know, people say that the reason he was able to win that 7th gold medal by 0.01 seconds is because he developed that tremendous power in his legs only because he swam those laps with that swimming board, lap after lap after lap in October, November, and December of 2007. He did that because of his passion. Because of his passion, because he felt that he was born to swim. Can you think of an example, any other example that you've had in your life, wherein you felt you were born to do this particular thing in your life? And that's what makes you more successful. That's what makes you more productive in life. When I talk about this subject called passion and I talk about productivity, I just cannot think of a person but Steve Jobs. I mean, you've heard his famous dialogue that passionate people can change the world. And you know, when he spoke about building a passionate company like Apple, so he did not just hire computer science graduates. He hired passionate musicians because he wanted Mac to have the best music that people could buy. He hired the best people he had the best artists, people who were good in calligraphy, people who were good in design, because he just didn't want to build up a computer. He wanted a masterpiece to be there in front of people, something that they would relish when they would see it on their desk. So when you think about these people, you're actually talking about people who applied this concept in their lives. And that's what passion is all about. Now, obviously, some of you would turn back and say, because these are exceptions. Yeah, I understand. These people are exceptions. Let's talk about some more people. You know of this lady? Some of you know of this lady? Her name is Asha Bhosle. Some of you who are fond of Hindi music would definitely be knowing this lady. Why am I showing you the picture of this lady? Let me just show you one more picture. I'm sure all of you know this gentleman. He's been my personal hero. So I would request you people to please start putting something in the comment box, because just try and engage with me on the comment box. So you know this gentleman. This gentleman turned 78 on October 11th this month. Now, Asha Bhosle is 88 years old. And you know, she still has the strength and the stamina to perform live in an event. When we talk about successful people like them, we need to understand what makes them more successful. Or when I talk about success, what makes them more productive? You know, I read about Amitabh Bachchan's schedule. He still works 6 days a week. He only takes an off on a Sunday. Now, a person at 78 who has just about all the wealth in the world, why would he be going to his office or to his work 6 days off a week? And most of us, people like you and me, are hardly in their, let's say, late 20s to 30s to early 40s. And we make a hue and cry of working about 60 hours a week. But this gentleman works 60 hours a week at the age of 78. Why does he do that? He's only able to do that because of his passion for the work that he does. And that's the only reason he's so successful. I also heard Steve Jobs in an interview. A couple of days back, I happened to hear one of his interviews. And he was there in a college. No, not that Stanford interview, not that famous connecting the dots interview, but one of his other interviews. And a student happened to ask him as to if you would want to give one last advice to all of us as to what we could learn from you so that we become more productive and we become more successful in life. And that's what Steve Jobs had to say. He says, you really need to love what you do. He says the only difference between somebody who you say is more successful in the eyes of the society versus somebody who is not is because somebody who's successful persisted despite the difficulties that person faced. And he only persisted because he really loved what he did. So he says that's the only difference between being successful and not being successful. If you love what you do, you will persist despite the difficulties and you will be successful one fine day. So when you talk about people like Asha Bhosle who are 88, Amitabh Bachchan working 6 days a week at 78, talk about a person like Mr. Lal Krishna Advani, well in his 90s now, but he was still very active till about a couple of years back. Talk about our ex-Prime Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh. He's just turned 88 and he still leads a very active political life. One common factor on this slide, which I wanted to take back with you, the only reason these people are so successful is because they love what they do. And the single word for this sentence is they're passionate about their work. So when you talk about a subject like productivity and being successful in life, that's the one question that should haunt you again and again. Do you really love what you do? And if you do, as Steve Jobs said, you will definitely be successful one fine day. Now again, some people could say, because all these people are celebrities, this is not fair. We were not born into a Bachchan family or a Mangeshkar family or a Advani family. These are all celebrities. Yeah, you're right. Let's talk about some common people. I met this gentleman last year in Mumbai. None of you would possibly know this person. His name is Suresh Amritlal Kotak. Yeah, he's the father of Kotak's chairman, Mr. Uday Kotak. But he runs his separate business. And he's 87 years old. He still comes to office about 4 to 5 times a week. Still comes to office about 4 times a week. His office is there in the Navsari building in the Fort area in Mumbai. And he was born in 1933 in Karachi, but came to Mumbai, passed out from Sydenham College, was handling the entire business empire of the Kotak Group for about 30-35 years. And he's also known as the Bhishma Pitama of cotton industry in India. Has done tremendous work in the Gujarat and Saurashtra region for the farmers. And today runs a number of organizations, educational institutes in Rajkot area, right from schools to graduate institutes. He is still passionate about that activity which happens in the state of Gujarat. And that's what he takes care of every single day when he comes to office. I mean, he has tons of money, tons of money. Why should he be coming to office 4 days in a week at the age of 87? Because he's passionate towards his work. Because he knows he's making a difference to the society through his work. And that's what drives him out of his home at the age of 87, at least 4 times in a week. Now, I came across this lady. See, the reason I'm moving away from exceptions and celebrities is for you to be able to relate to these people. So I met a lady last year. We'd gone to a charitable organization, and this lady runs a Gurukul, wherein about 100 girls are sent to schools. I mean, their entire schooling is taken care of. They were, let's say, orphans. So that's like an orphanage, and wherein, for whatever reasons, some girls had to come in And so their entire schooling is taken care of, their entire boarding, lodging, food, everything's taken care of right up to the time when they start earning. So I mean, that lady is possibly taken up the responsibility for a girl child for the next 15 years. Everything's taken care of. And you know her age? She's 83. At 83, she's still very active. She suffered a heart attack last year. And that is the story I wanted to share with you. She suffered a heart attack last year, and a pacemaker had to be installed. This is she stays in Rohini in Delhi, and a pacemaker had to be installed. So at the age of 82, if you actually have to install a pacemaker, the doctor really advises you rest for a couple of months. But she was back on her feet in 6 weeks. For she felt that the girls in that Gurukul wanted her to be there. She felt that calling that she had to be there with her girls. And she was back to her normal routine in 6 weeks. The doctors were surprised. The lady was 82 when she got back to active work. Active work 7 days a week. There's no holiday. I mean, she runs the institute, she runs that building, she runs that orphanage. There's no holiday for her. She's working 7 days a week at the age of 83. What stops you and me from working towards our goals? What stops us from being more productive in life? It's that one word, passion. Now, you would say this is fine, Vikas, but is a very interesting English word. This is all fine, but I have a family. And now this is for some of you who are married, obviously. I have a family to take care of. I have a wife, 2 kids. Moreover, I don't know what I need to do in my life. Now, when I say this, obviously, if you're working in a job, I'm not asking to leave your job tomorrow. I am talking about something that really drives you. It may not be a regular work, but can you look out for something in your free time? What can be done to make life more interesting for you? Because I don't know, I just simply log into my office, and for next 12 hours, I'm just logged into my office. After that, I'm too tired of thinking something else. And that's the end of the day for me. And over the weekend, I just need to take rest, not do anything in my life. That's okay, that's your choice. But you know, each person, everybody has a desire, has an inherent desire within him or her to do something more than what you're doing, to really work that passion. And let me just tell you one thing. You're just being afraid. You're just being afraid to get out of those chartered waters. Remember this movie? Some of you have seen this movie, Finding Nemo? I mean, she was very secure in her closed environment. And she was afraid. I mean, she wanted to explore, but her parents didn't want her to venture out into the open oceans. And that's what most of us are afraid of. We're too afraid to do something else apart from our regular routines. Let me give you a small break now. Switching off my external mic, I am now available. Let me have any comments that I need to look at, anything that I need to answer. Let me just have a quick glance.
Yeah, we have a question from Mr. Nitin.
Yes.
How can people sustain passion in work from home scenarios where productivity is now seeing a significant dip?
You're absolutely right, Nitin. So it's all been messed up over the last couple of months. I understand. But when you say productivity is now seeing a significant dip, that's my question to you. Why has your productivity dipped? It's because you're getting too engrossed in the only work that you have. Are you doing something to get out of that routine? See, things have opened up over the last 2-3 months. Now, let me share another example with you. I have another colleague of mine. He also works with an IT company. He's a very, so he's an outdoor kind of a person. So a cycling enthusiast, if I were to call him a cycling enthusiast. He typically cycles about 60 to 70 kilometers every weekend. And he started off in groups. Obviously, he's been cycling for a couple of years. Now, post this pandemic, None of his friends wanted to venture out. None of his friends wanted to venture out. But he was really passionate. Now, Corona doesn't stop you from going cycling. I mean, if you're ready to go it alone, nobody's stopping you to do that. He started doing it alone since the last about 5, 6 weeks. Now, if he's ready to break that monotonous routine, even that be on a Saturday and a Sunday, that's what I'm talking about, living with passion or having that passion alive in your life. I know we've all been working 60 hours a week, but what is it that you're doing on a Saturday and Sunday to overcome that boredom, overcome that monotony, is what matters more than that 60 hours a week that you're putting in. Anything else, Peter? Anything else which I missed out?
Yeah, no, that's it.
Okay, at least I have some, I do see some comments flowing in.
Coming in, correct.
So somebody's asked me about a Jaipurian. No, so I don't understand what a Jaipurian is. No, I'm not from Jaipur, if that means a Jaipurian. Or if that's something else. I'm sorry, I didn't get your comment. It's okay. Okay. Let's begin. Let's have another break after about 10 minutes. So now you just might have forgotten where I was. Right? Some of you forgotten where I was? Okay. Let me give you a harsh sentence once again. Have some of you seen this movie, Finding Nemo? You know, her parents wanted to protect her because they had lost a couple of their relatives out in the open oceans. They didn't want Nemo to venture out in the open oceans, but she wanted to. But even she was afraid the first time. You know, obviously you tend to be afraid. You've all been in a secured environment. And that's what happens with most of us. We become very comfortable in working in our normal routines. We become very comfortable. We've forgotten that we actually wanted to do something more in our lives. Again, I'm saying, I'm not asking you to resign from your job and just look out for your passion and start doing that from tomorrow. I'm not saying that. That is an internal calling which might happen one day, as what happened with me. But I'm talking about a life which could be lived along with your regular routines. Most of us have forgotten that. Most of us will never venture out alone to cycle 60 kilometers in a day. Most of us feel afraid to pick up a guitar and learn some new lessons at the age of 35 or 40. Most of us used to paint beautifully when we were young or when we were in college, but we somehow not very comfortable in picking up the brush once again. I am just forcing you to think about the activities that gave you happiness. Because if you start indulging in some of those activities again, believe me, you will be much more productive in the 60 hours that you're spending for your office. You will be in a happier zone when you again begin your work on a Monday morning. But the road is going to be lonely. Yeah, I just give you an example. My friend is ready to cycle 60 kilometers over the weekend all by himself. So when you start pursuing your passion again, the road is going to be lonely. Are you willing to be uncomfortable and be all by yourself and still pursue what you wanted to pursue? So are you the person who's really ready to ignite that passion once again in your life? So that's what I wanted to share about this word called passion. And I know it's slightly away from what some of you may have thought. I have something more to share with you, another about 10, 15 minutes. So this definitely was slightly away from what most of you would have thought in terms of productivity. But I could have shared all those small hacks on productivity. That's very easy, right? I still wanted to give you a slightly different perspective of what really successful people do. Why are they more productive than what a normal person is? And ultimately, when you think of the successful people, I always come across this famous sentence from Steve Jobs, which I shared with you, that passionate people can change the world. And I definitely am a big fan of some of these actors, some of these sports people. You know, IPL, when you see people perform in IPL, I mean, that person has only one dream in his life, to be playing for his team. And that's what drives him. That's what gives him happiness. So I'm just forcing you to think about the activity that gives you happiness. And that will have a snowball effect on whatever else you do in your life. That's what passion is. That's what passion can do to your productivity in life. Now, I have put across, you wouldn't be able to read it. This is slightly in a smaller font, but that's my YouTube link. And the only reason I put up this link, let me just put it in the chat box. Yeah. So the only reason I have put it in the chat box is because I keep posting a couple of my videos, and there's a video titled "You Can Do It," and that's an interaction which I had with my IIM Indore alumni, and we've covered a wide range of subjects, right from dreams to goals to passion. And for some of you really interested in this subject, so once this session is done, see, obviously you will not be able to recall too many things. You just might remember Michael Phelps, you remember Steve Jobs. Some of you might remember Amrit Lal Kotak, Mr. Amrit Lal Kotak. Some of you might remember that lady who runs that orphanage in Delhi. But some of you really want to understand more on this, I would urge you to pick up that video. You can do it. It's a short 20-minute video, and you just might have some more thoughts as to what can be done to lead a more productive life. Okay, I have a message. It says how to measure productivity in difficult times. How to measure your productivity. See, that's a tough one because this is not something which can be really quantified. Now, I would say, I would simply say, did you feel happy after having done a particular thing? Or was it really done under pressure? See, you could be performing under pressure only till about a couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years. But the the way I started off with, if you're really thinking of life in terms of the number of years which are left, rather than whatever you've achieved or the number of years which have gone by, then that's the moment you will start making a difference as to how do you want to live the balanced years of your life. But to answer that question straight away in terms of how do we measure our productivity, I really can't give you a mathematical formula. Does it make you happy? Whatever you're doing, does it make you happy? If it does, you're leading a productive life. If it does not, you're really not living a productive life. That's a very honest answer. How to handle the employees who do not have passion to perform well towards their work? Brilliant. That's a brilliant one. So this is a question by Gunjan. How to handle the employees who do not have any passion to perform well towards their work? That's a very nice question because as HR managers, some of you as HR managers, see, many people enter into your organization only because you offered them a very lucrative salary. They might have got the work of their choice, but again, their heart lies somewhere else. See, there are two ways to look at it. One is obviously, I see teamwork. Here is the role of the teamwork coming in. So now what happens is, if you remember, I showed you that clipping. Let me just show you that once again. Yes. So Gunjan, this is for you. So now, see, if you have a team which is really charged up, and if you have someone who's really not enthused, but standing between these people who are like seemingly like mad, would this have a rub-on effect on that employee? So let me give you another example. Have you ever been to a cricket stadium to watch a match? So I'm not that great fan of cricket, but I've been to the stadium twice or thrice. You know, if you're in the stadium, you just cannot sit quietly in the stadium. However serious you are, when that batsman hits the ball out of the park and the stadium erupts with joy, you just cannot hold you. I mean, you actually follow the rhythm which is flowing in the stadium. And that's what great teams do. So if those people can be part of a bigger team, and more people in that team are enthused to perform well, that will have a rub off effect on that particular employee. So that's the closest answer which I could give you, Gunjan, on what you asked me. So how to handle a person without passion after explaining him? Uh, your question is not very clear, Parvati. If you could just rephrase it again. And okay, so let's just move on to the next aspect. So I've sent you my YouTube link, and so as I told you, there are a couple of videos on that, and I have mentioned I have a couple of videos on engagement, employee engagement, on employee productivity. So it just might be helpful for some of you, who especially come from the HR domain, and I don't come from an HR fraternity. So I will speak a slightly different language than what you used to. So you'll find a different flavor in some of my videos. And let's move on now. So another 10 minutes and I'll be done. And I'm sharing another aspect of productivity with you. And that's something that you know of. That's something more familiar to all of you on this call. Something which is called prioritization. Prioritization. See, we all understand that we need to set our goals and we need to achieve some meaningful goals in our life. We all understand that. But we many times when we do not achieve some of these goals, it's only because of this one word, prioritize. We've not really prioritized things in our life to make that goal happen. And I will be sharing one personal example with you, one personal example, for I have lived through that example. And I was able to make things happen only because of this one word, prioritization. So this is about the book which I published. Now, the reason I'm picking up the book is because I went through some stages and I would really like to share all those stages with you. It will also be helpful for some people who are actually in the process of publishing a book. Now, see, the lockdown was announced towards the end of March. The first 2 or 3 weeks was a real party. I'm sure it would have happened with most of you as well. A lot of watching TV, a lot of good food, but a couple of days down the line, and you realize you couldn't be doing that for too long. So I had a desire to write a book one day. So I made a goal. Obviously, once you have a desire, you need to have a proper goal on when you would publish the book. But simply having a goal does not make things happen. Every single day of your life, you will need to prioritize things to make that goal happen in your life. So what's the first priority which I had to pick up? I actually had to decide in terms of the plot or in terms of the story. I had to prioritize my work. So when I talk about the story and the plot, I had to prioritize my work. I had to give my work a couple of hours every day. And it was not easy during the phase of lockdown because once you're not doing anything, you actually tend to become lazy. You tend to become less productive. And I had to overcome some of those challenges and still allot a couple of hours to my work every day. Now, once I started writing and I had a particular deadline, nothing happens without a deadline. When I started writing, I had a particular deadline. Now came the next priority. The priority was having the first rough draft ready. Now, what really was the priority in that? I had to write about 500 to 1,000 words every day. That's a priority which I had to have. Now, too many things kept happening during the lockdown. When I say too many things, too much of negative news. Again, you end up watching a lot of TV because you had to keep abreast of the latest happenings. But again and again, you had to prioritize in terms of when you went to bed. I really had to make a tick mark whether I have written those 500,000 words that very day. I had to prioritize that once I get up in the morning, I will write at least 200, 300 words and before I do anything else. I had to prioritize my work. My life had to revolve around writing a couple of hundred words a day. Nothing else mattered in my life. My single most priority every single day of my life at that time. was to write a couple of hundred words a day. Now, for those of you who are writing a book, you know, I met so many people after the book got published. And many people have been writing for the last 6 months, some people for the last 1 year, 2 years. I even met a gentleman who's been writing for the last 4 years, not able to publish. The only reason being too many things come up on a daily basis. And your goal takes a back seat. You've not been able to prioritize what is it that you wanted to do in your life. But I gave it a full priority. As I told you, my life during those days revolved around those couple of hundred words. It was that which mattered the most to me every single day till the time my rough draft was ready. Now I had to take care of all the marketing collaterals and the social media. Now, again, I told you the reason I'm sharing the story would be just helpful to many people who are thinking or are in the process of publishing a book. When you're writing a book is not the only thing that needs to be done. You ought to be ready with the marketing collaterals. You ought to be ready with the social media story. Now, again, you have too many things to be done. Everything needs to be done in parallel. So, are you able to prioritize a certain time of the day when you will not focus on writing the book, but you'll be only involved in designing those marketing collaterals or designing your social media programs? You need to start prioritizing your time. I mean, then obviously the book title, everything. And finally, I was able to have my book published 6 days before I had set out to when I started writing in the month of April. So I had a deadline about 30th of June. I was able to publish it on 24th of June. Because for those 9 weeks, my life revolved only around this book. Not that I did not do anything else. See, obviously, first of all, we were in a lockdown, so not that, and it applies to all of us. I was not the only one in a lockdown. All of you were as well. Now, look back as to what you accomplished in those 9 or 11 or 12 weeks. For me, everything revolved around this. I had to accomplish this task before I did anything else. I did many other things as well. Even I had to pivot my business from an offline to an online business. I was working on that parallelly. But this was something which I prioritized every single day. So that's the second thing which I wanted to share with you. As I told you, this would be more familiar to you. I was just trying to showcase to you in a different way. So prioritization is something that you've known of. You as HR managers or you employees working in an organization, you all know what needs to be done first. But most of the times we get caught up in those urgent activities. And those urgent activities will keep coming up every single day of your life. And your productivity really depends on whether you've been able to prioritize things to your advantage. So two things that we spoke of today. One was passion, the most important part about being more productive and more successful in life. And the second thing we spoke about was prioritization. Can you really prioritize things to your advantage? Can you take care of the more important things in your life? And believe me, you will find time for the urgent things, provided you've taken care of the most important things in your life. So that's what I wanted to leave you with. My book happened to be a bestseller in US for many days, and it hit the bestseller in India for 26 days in the month of July. And it's been a refreshing experience, great experience. Those are my coordinates. That's all about what I share with you today. I am done, Peter.
Thank you so much, Vikas. Uh, we will have our participants share their feedback. So we'll be running a poll right now. So would request all the participants to kindly share their feedback out there. Before we move into the Q&A session, would also request the participants to share their questions in the chat window so that we can have those addressed. Any questions that you have pertaining to the session, would request you to share that in the chat window. So while our participants have been giving their feedback, there was a follow-up question by Mr. Nitin. He mentioned, what can organization do to encourage individuals and team to pursue their passion? This was with reference to that work from home question that he had taken up earlier.
See, one thing which definitely can be done is in terms of the employees being given the flexibility over the weekend. As I keep speaking to a lot of my friends, I believe they're bogged down by some work even on a weekend. I don't know if that's a reality or it's that something which they made it up by themselves. So, Peter, but if due to those blurring of timelines, in terms of we've really forgotten when the workday ended and the personal time started, due to because of those blurring of deadlines, I believe it's not possible on a weekday. But if an effort can be made to not really disturb the employees over weekend, wherein they and not everybody will utilize that time, Peter. But if organizations still very strict about not really disturbing their employees over a weekend, you've given that flexibility to the employee. But even after doing that, Peter, only 20% people will really do something. I hope you understand that 20-80 principle. 80% लोग कभी नहीं करेंगे कुछ. But you've at least given that flexibility to 20% of the people, which will be a great thing on your part.
So we have another question that is from Dr. Nandan. How many things you can do in a same time, even you are so full of passion, still, how can you achieve all of them together? That is the aspects of prioritization.
Yeah, see, you cannot be passionate about 10 things in your life. If you say that, then you need to understand the meaning of that word passion. You can only be passionate about one or two things in life, and you will get time for those one or two things. So you need to identify that right one or two things. And if I were to give you an analogy, for somebody who's young, let's say, Peter, now I don't know your age, but let's say you were not married. I know you just might be married, but let's say you were not married. So when you were not married, and let's say you were dating somebody, however busy you were for 14 hours in a day, you still found time to pick up the phone and make that phone call. However busy you were, you still found time to go out for a dinner once a fortnight. And that's what passion is. If you could relate to what I said, that's what passion is. You will find time for your passion. But you can't be going out with 10 girls in a fortnight. That's not your passion.
It's all about being passionate about the thing that you love the most.
One thing. I said not about 10 girls, one thing.
Correct. So we have another question from Ayushi Joshi. How does remote work impact on productivity, that is individual or team? What are the key measures to be taken care of to increase or sustain productivity due to current situation?
I agree. See, remote work does hamper your productivity for the simple reason we're all social beings. I know there's some organizations that are talking about employees not coming to work or not coming to office for the next 6 months or next 8 months. But ultimately, we're not mechanized devices. We are ultimately human beings. And we had an interesting conversation just about 2 days back. I feel many times as employees, some of us have got into a comfort zone. It's a comfort zone. Believe me. Again, you may not agree with me right away, but you're in a comfort zone. You're getting up late in the morning, most of you. You're having breakfast at an odd time, most of you. You possibly getting to relax after your lunch, most of you. You're not having to travel 1.5 hours in the traffic, most of you. That's a big comfort zone that you've entered into. So even when many organizations, so I know 3 of my very close friends, they've been going to office for the last few weeks every single day. If the organization gives you a chance of coming to your office, I would request you to take up that opportunity. Get out of your comfort zone. Because it's again when you start meeting up. See, I don't know when this pandemic is going to end. You just can't be hiding in your houses for long. You just need to take that precaution. That's what our Prime Minister also says. He's not asking you to be staying at home, but take that adequate precaution when you move out. That's the only thing. So get out of your comfort zone. If your organization allows to, start going to your office. Start meeting up with those people. And believe me, you will start becoming more active and more productive. That's what I can say.
Absolutely. We have one more question. Hobbies are a definite stress reliever, which has shown improvement in person's productivity. How can we measure productivity using this critical P?
Sorry, Peter, I didn't get your question. How does?
Hobbies are a definite stress reliever,
Yes.
which has shown improvement in person's productivity. How
Yes.
can we measure productivity using this critical P? that is prioritization as well as passion?
See, again, very difficult to measure. So when I understand all HR managers also come from a financial background, you want an ROI of everything in your life. But so what is the amount of happiness you get when you spend 2,000 rupees over a dinner? I'm really sorry, but I happened to ask this question to an HR manager. He wanted to understand the ROI of the training. I said, sir, when you went for a dinner, he says, yeah, अभी हम last weekend dinner पे गए थे. मैंने कहा, सर कितने पैसे खर्च हुए? कहते 2-2,500 रुपए खर्च हो गए यार 2 लोगों के. तो मैंने कहा उसमें कितनी खुशी मिली? कहते बहुत खुशी मिली. मैंने कहा नहीं नहीं मेरे को मैथमेटिकली जरा बताओ कितना मिला? He said, विकास मजाक कर रहे हो? How can I quantify that? So there's certain things in life you can't quantify. But ultimately, that HR manager said he felt happy that he spent 2,500 rupees. So I again can't give you that quantification, but it's all left to the employee. I told you, Peter, in the last question also, even when you offer that flexibility of employees not being disturbed over a weekend, only 20% employees will do something for their hobbies, for their passion. The only difference being there's a difference between a hobby and a passion.
Right.
Writing a book was not a hobby.
Passion.
So some people just might have a hobby of switching on the TV. That's a hobby. Many people have that hobby. But some people are passionate. They just want to watch MS Dhoni or somebody else in IPL. That's a passion. So a hobby is a different to a passion. You need to understand your passion. Watching IPL may not be the best code of passion that I can obviously say, but just wanted to let you know it's not ultimately life is not about pursuing your hobbies, but about inculcating that passion.
So passion is what drives you, that what energizes you. So
Yes.
that's very important to have that passion towards any work or task that you do. Rightly said, beautifully said. We do have questions that are coming in. Um, we have one from Prachi. Work from home. It's related to work from home because everyone are currently in this work from home scenario. So work from home becomes a mundane for everyone at some point. HR pushes them to come forward and participate into company wide employee engagement events to rejuvenate themselves. So I believe this is a comment, Prachi, that she's put across. So that's where she's trying to relate towards the work from home aspects to ensure that all employees come and participate as well as they are passionate and they are encouraged towards participating in all those activities.
So Niranjan, I can just answer you from the time you decided. So I started writing around the 20th of April. All I say after 15th of April, not very sure of the date. And my book got published on 24th of June. Exactly 9 weeks. And this was my topmost priority every single day in those 9 weeks. And that's what I did. Otherwise, people normally take 6 months. And some people never manage it even in 4 years. That's a reality. I've been meeting so many people. The only reason being they have a goal, but they do not prioritize every single day. It's okay to have a goal, but when you get up that morning, what is your number one priority that day is what matters. And it's the only way you achieve your goals.
Was that what optimizes your entire performance, the time taken and the execution and everything? So that's what is commendable.
Especially Peter, I mean, there's so many things which happen on a daily basis. I mean, you are an HR manager, you understand so many things keep disturbing you on a daily basis.
Absolutely. But that should not hinder you in your end goal or a passion that you have set for yourself.
Absolutely.
Great, great. So let me see if any more questions.
So Prachi has again, the question was on the top. She says, how to encourage them to participate in employee engagement activities. So Prachi,
to rejuvenate themselves.
Yeah, again, see, I also have a couple of friends, as I told you, who work in IT companies. Now, what happens is people have had enough of online interaction. And when you ask people to come across, one of my friends told me the HR wants them to come across with their coffee mugs towards the evening and let's all have a chit chat. So he says, I have had enough of my office chit chat online. I want to really meet someone. Now, I don't know if it is allowed in your organization or not, but make an effort. If not 100 people, make an effort to get 10 people out in a park at least. Are we making that effort or not? What's stopping you from getting 10 of your employees in a park on a Sunday morning? I believe ask your employees to get out of their houses. Do not just be confined to the screens any longer. Do not make your activity designed in a way that is still sitting in front of a screen. Get them away from the screens. You can do it.
So thank you, Vikas.
Peter, I lost you, or have you lost me? I don't know. But one of us has lost the connection.
Yeah, because you're pretty much there. I think Peter network is
Okay.
getting.
So I just wanted to add on to one last thing. So I mentioned about my book. So Peter, we lost you just mentioning about one last thing. I mentioned about my book, and this book is on entrepreneurship. And when
Yeah,
I
are
say
you able to hear
entrepreneurship,
me? I'm so sorry. I just got dropped off.
yeah, it's just summarizing on the book. So my book is on entrepreneurship, and it has found readership across all segments: students, corporate employees. Because I'm not just talking about being an entrepreneur; I'm talking about the entrepreneurial mindset, and that's what you as HR managers are possibly looking for in your employees. So it's a small read, and I call it an airplane read, wherein if you really are passionate about reading a book, you'll be through in about 2.5 hours. This book is priced at 199 on Amazon Kindle, and I have reduced the price just before the start of the session. This book is available at 99 rupees till 4:30. At 4:30, the price will automatically revert to 199. So, just in case some of you are interested in knowing more about the entrepreneurial mindset and what really needs to be done, even at your end, it's an interesting read and available on Amazon Kindle at 99 rupees only till 4:30 p.m. It will revert to 199 at 4:30 p.m. That's what I wanted to share. I can just paste the link in just in case somebody wants to have a look. That's the link of my book. So that's all about from my side. I am sure we've lost Peter again. Peter, welcome back. We seem to be losing you time and again.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. There's a bad connectivity that I'm facing out here. So thank you so much, Vikas. I lost the last part of yours. Nevertheless, but it was an exciting and a wonderful session. Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful insights with us, especially when we talk about following your passion and prioritization of your task to achieve your end goals. Amazing. Thank you so much. It